In the month of Ramzan, a shameful controversy has erupted around the idea of an iftar, and this time these controversies have dragged in even our military. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. The army had to remind our fellow citizens this past week what the pluralistic traditions of our military are. This unfortunate turn of events took place after an official handle of the Defense Public Relations Officer in Jammu deleted a tweet that showed officers and men celebrating an iftar party in the month of Ramzan. This was targeted by certain groups on the far right, including the promoter of a channel, Sudarshan News, leading the defense PRO to delete his tweet. Several senior officers then reminded the country what the military is actually all about, a masterclass in pluralism. If you really want to understand the secular pluralistic ethos of India, look no further than the Indian military. So, to conduct this masterclass on pluralism, I decided to call three of our finest officers to our program today, many of whom have also been writing in the past few days on some of these issues and have shared photographs from their personal collection underlining this spirit of inclusiveness. Let me introduce our guests on the program today. We are joined by the former Northern Army commander, General D.S. Huda. Welcome to the program, sir. General Atta Hasnain, who's been General Officer Commanding of the 15th Corps, is with us. And we're also joined by General Dua, who has also been General Officer Commanding of the 15th Corps. Welcome to all three of you. And let me start with you, General Huda, if I may. We still don't know, and nobody has told us what happened. Why did that particular, handle of the defense PRO delete a tweet that all that tweet said was these are the best secular traditions of the Indian military, and that was described as poison by people who unfortunately propagate poison themselves. What are you able to piece together of what has happened, and what would you like to say about what has happened?
So thank you, Barkha, for inviting me to your program. As you said, I have no first-hand knowledge as to why the PRO deleted the tweet, whether it was due to some pressure from someone. But the fact is that the deletion was wrong. It should not have been done. I mean, that clearly, is the bottom line, because it appears as if the army has succumbed to some kind of pressure, from, as you described, far right-wing elements to which called what the army was doing a bimari, like it's a sickness in the military. So it clearly should not have been done. I want to make two quick points, Barkha, which I think are important about the military's culture, its ethos, its values. The first is that every person in uniform has sworn an oath to defend the Constitution. And what are the values of this Constitution? It talks about secularism, it talks about equality, it talks about fraternity. And if the army is sworn to protect these qualities and protect the Constitution, then obviously these qualities and values are of immense use in the military. And the second quick point I want to make, Barkha, is we talk about the character, the culture, the values in the army. Why are these values important? Not because they sound good, because they're sort of morally desirable in themselves, but because, as General John Hackett has said, they are indispensable for military functioning. If we don't have these values, if we don't have these qualities, I'm afraid the military, the army, will cease to function as the organization. And so, anybody who's questioning these values, anybody who's questioning, the way we conduct business, I think is making one big mistake. So I'll end here, Barkha, and then we can take some
Yeah.
other issues.
And I think that's a very important point that there is the principle of it, but also the organization, the integration of Jawans and officers from diverse backgrounds. Without this pluralistic ethos, it's not possible to keep the cohesion and the larger purpose, which is, of course, protecting and guarding the nation. And that's a very, very important point. Now, the good news before I come to General Hussain and General Dua is that immediately after this shameful controversy, we did have the army itself release these images that we're just about to show you of General Pandey, who's now the GOC of the 15 Corps, offering namaz. And we all saw these pictures, and they were not just pictures that accidentally emerged. They were in fact pictures that were officially released by military handles. And I think there was an acknowledgement somewhere up the ranks as well as down the chain that what the defense PRO had done was wrong. But the fact that he or she felt the need to do it is something disturbing. Now, General Hasnain, I actually pulled out an old article of yours that you had written for the Times of India. And you had written this article when Nawazuddin Siddiqui, the actor, was stopped from actually performing in a Ram Leela. And you harked back to the time that your own father became the first Muslim general officer commanding. You spoke about your own regiment. You spoke about the fact that in the military, and I'm underlining these very basic things because civilian audiences don't know this, that in the military, your own faith is not the point. As a commanding officer, you take on the war cry of your regiment, you participate in the faith of your men, and so on. So speak a little bit, sir, from personal experience.
Thank you, Barkha, for having me on your show this evening. It's a very, very relevant show, I must say. And thank you for referring back to that article, which harks back to 2015, actually. You're right, Nawazuddin Shah had been denied the role of Ram in the Ram Leela at Muzaffarnagar. And that instigated me or triggered me to write this particular article in which I mentioned. You see, the problem is that all that is happening in the environment, if you really go on Twitter, most people who follow me agree with me that there is a need for demonstrating the secular values of the army at all times, and particularly during Ramzan at such a time. Unfortunately, there's a large segment of people who do not understand the ethos of the armed forces at all. They have no idea how officers are sent to regiments or to different segments of the army, how recruitment is done, what is the class composition, the religious composition. These are things which are alien to the public in India. So, and we should not even try to give them too much of it. But the point remains at the end of it, this is, as you said clearly, the one organization which carries the secular values, the best democratic credentials, everything good about India is reflected here. And that is why I said, I am a Muslim. My father was a Muslim. I'm a Muslim. And you can see me here in this picture itself at a particular function in which there is the lighting of the diya at a particular seminar, etc. I have no hesitation of ever doing it. And I've seen so many of my colleagues from different faiths who would never have any hesitation of going and reading the namaz, just like General Pandey is reading it in that picture. I've seen companies of Muslim troops in the Grenadiers, which I've written also about, where I find an officer keeping all 30 rosas and reading all 5 namazes a day. I have always written about this fact that my unit, Badri Vishal, is our deity, the presiding deity of our unit, of our regiment. I, as the colonel of the regiment, have flown to Badrinath, have visited Badrinath to make sure that in the beginning of the year, the season, I put the bell on the gate of Lord Badri Vishal so that the year is well spent by my regiment. And these are the kind of beliefs we all have. Now, this seems alien to people outside. They're far right wingers who think that there's something terribly wrong in this entire business. No, I would say let the army to itself, because it knows what it is doing. And on a professional front, as far as this question of why is this not done for others, why isn't it done for other faiths, let me tell you, this is a function of goodwill. Iftar parties, etc., are a function of goodwill. I'm sure everywhere you have Diwali milans. The army does Diwali milans everywhere. It does holy milans everywhere. If it does an Eid milan, if it does an Iftar milan, I think no one should be actually questioning it. So ultimately, it's a question of education. It's a question of education, and I care two hoots for anyone among the right wingers or anywhere who takes objection to the army performing these kind of activities.
Well said. And General Dua, I think you tried to educate some of the people on Twitter by sharing pictures of a Mandir Masjid Gurdwara from your own home. And we'll show those pictures to our audience. The MMG isn't just a gun. When it comes to the Jacklie, it is actually the concept of, again, multi faith worship, which is, by the way, a very, very common concept in many regiments, but the Jacklie has, of course, taken it even one step further. And the ignorance, General Dua, is such. And I just want to, can we please first just play the MMG pictures from General Dua's house, and then I'll ask him his my question. The ignorance is such that when pictures actually emerged, no, the ones from his house. But when the pictures actually emerged, General Dua from of General Pandey offering that namaz, we actually saw people saying कि ये एक ही banner पे ये चार faiths का sign क्यों है? Whereas actually that is what the Jacklie is all about. General Dua.
Yes, Barkha. Some of our regiments have one particular faith, and the soldiers belong to one particular faith or religion. But some regiments are either all India, all class, and some are mixed, like my regiment, Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry. My regiment has 50% Muslims from J&K, 40% are Dogras, 10% Sikhs, and there is a small smattering of Buddhists from Ladakh region. So our Sarvdharm Sthal is called MMG, Mandir Masjid Gurdwara, and we've added Gompa to it now. So what is the difference? The difference is that all the three faiths, three religions are actually under one roof. Our Mandir Masjid Gurdwara, MMG, is in one roof. That means when a function, when let's say there is Diwali ka Aarti, main function goes on in the front of the Hindu deity Durga Mata, but there is a small dua also read, and there is the ardas also read at the end of it. So that's how all functions take place, whether it is Eid or whether it is Gurpura or a Hindu function. So in our regiment, all soldiers live in a mixed manner. They are mixed. They are not. There is not a Muslim company and a Dogra company or Sikh company. They are all mixed down to the last section. What Indian Army does is this pluralism is all inclusive, and all officers posted to any regiment adopt the religion of the troops. The moment an officer comes in command of a battalion, or is serving with a battalion, or let's say he's a corps commander, he adopts the religion of his own soldiers.
Hmm.
So if a Rajput officer is a Naga regiment, he behaves like the way the Nagas do, or if there is a Sikh officer in the Jat regiment, he will do all the functions, all the customs and rituals as a Jat will do. So what I'm trying to now, this is the picture that is in my house. I carried that MMG. This is another picture outside. So the same concept of MMG, the little prayer room that we have in the backyard of a house. I made the same MMG that I have been used to for 4 decades in my life. So all I'm trying to say that for us, all not only all three officers of us sitting over here, but for any army officer, it is something very natural to do. We just pick it up. We don't have we do it effortlessly. So for anyone to try and pick a bone in this, that why is the iftar party being done, or why this is the why Diwali is being done, it's absolutely wrong with the kind of atmosphere that is going on today. All I would like to say, in this kind of atmosphere, trying to make news, at least please leave the army out of it.
Yeah.
The
Sir,
army.
I want to go back to those pictures of the MMG at your house. Why did you feel that mattered so much to you that you had to, in fact, incorporate that spirit in your own residence even after you've retired from the military?
Uh, so, like I wrote in the tweet, it becomes a way of life. It actually becomes a way of life. I think about all this because in the last 40 years, all my adult years I've spent actually living with this ethos. And when we made the prayer room, my wife said to me, "Is the only natural thing to do." In early 2019, when I retired in end of 18. When we completed our house, the first pictures I posted was of this MMG. I said, this is what we've started a house. The MMG at least is complete. And then I explained what MMG is. So, this is the kind of enthusiasm that everyone shares, just because it has become a way of life for me. I mean, it is no longer a regimentation. It is my own way of life. All the three religions,
Yeah.
and uh, we draw a lot of strength from it. And I would just end with one sentence, as I started saying earlier: please leave the army out of it. Army is totally secular, and we draw a lot of, General Huda said, we draw a lot of strength from our ethos.
Yeah, and that's a really sort of three beautiful accounts. But General Huda, let me go back to that hard-nosed point that you raised beyond sentiment. You actually said that if this toxicity is allowed to enter the public discourse and cross the Lakshman Rekha into the military domain, then there is going to be a problem in how the army has actually disciplined itself, imagined itself, and the basic sort of Josh of the Paltan, how settlements are organized on a Paltan basis. Talk a little bit about that, sir.
So, Barkha, what we say, we used to say, of course, before women came in, band of brothers. What is the military all about? It's a band of brothers. Now it's a band of brothers and sisters. So the minute you put on the uniform, I mean, you are completely, everybody is completely equal. Uh, I wrote a recent article in the Tribune where I quoted an example of, a soldier rushing into a hail of bullets to rescue his comrades. Is he going to pause and think, oh, is this guy a Hindu? Is this guy a Muslim? He
Yeah.
doesn't care. This bonding, this cohesion within the military, within the army, comes in only because you completely ignore, whatever religion, caste, creed, or color a person is. As I said, as long as he's putting on a uniform, he's your comrade, and you will do everything. It is this bonding actually. A lot of people ask, why do soldiers fight? Why do soldiers react and behave in a particular way? And it's because of this very, very close bonding between comrades, between people and units in a regiment, and it has
And what,
nothing to do with
what
religion.
and there's your article. What worries you the most, General Huda? This article
So
is
what
up with
what
it. Yeah, yeah,
what worries me most is, people calling for uh, rethinking of, what the military value systems are, calling for a relook at the military's ethos and what they're doing, and it's frankly treading a very dangerous path, because uh, if our values get diluted, if the military ethic gets diluted, Barkha, we are going to weaken the army. And if we are weakening the army, we are weakening the nation. So I think this is the message that, for people who are questioning the way we are doing business, questioning about what we do, how we react and how we act with the locals in Jammu and Kashmir, for example. This is a message to them that, if the army changes its value system, the military on which everyone is so proud is going to weaken.
yeah.
Barkha.
Absolutely. General Dua, before I come to General Hasnain, I want you to tell us the story. I've heard this story from you once before at a seminar, but I want you to share it with a larger audience of how I think in your regiment once, I believe that the Molvi or the Granthi, one of the two, could not make it to a particular function. And so the other religious leader actually stepped in and was able to perform. So it isn't just that you're participating or you're celebrating each other's festivals. You actually witnessed somebody being able to perform the religious sort of rituals or traditions of another faith. So can you share that anecdote?
Yes, if I recall correctly, it happened once in 15 Jakalai, that for the Gurpura function, the Granthi was not there. And the Molvi, we were the unit was in a field area on the LOC, so it's the unit base. But the Molvi of the unit carried out conducted the prayers for the Gurpurab before the Langar. And what, I also found it good and great, like you did, and whoever heard about it. But let me tell you that when it was done in the unit, it was just taken as a normal sort of a step to happen, that if the Granthi is not there, the Maulvi will do it. Very recently, General Gurmeet, as Governor Uttarakhand, visited my unit is in the Indo-Nepal border in Uttarakhand. Uh, so he had a brief halt there before he had to go somewhere.
Hmm.
And there also, coincidentally, the Panditji was not there. The Granthi actually did the little arti, and he was very. I mean, I wasn't there. I just went to the unit recently, and he said that General Gurmeet, as Governor Uttarakhand, was very impressed that this sort of a thing has happened. So here it is. We step into this so
Naturally.
easily, naturally,
Yeah.
so easily, and we don't give it a second thought that something good and great has happened. I mean, it's something very natural for us to do. And that's how, I was talking earlier, General Hasnan's picture doing the arti, or if I keep the rosa when I was with the troops. This is something that no army person, no army officers takes it as something special. It's just done very naturally.
Yeah, I think that's the point, General Hasnain. You've often spoken about how you and your wife have performed the arti at ceremonial functions. You've spoken about Badri Vishal being the sort of regimental icon. The war cries differ from regiment to regiment, and the men take on, and increasingly the women, the soldiers will take on that regimental cry. It's your own personal faith or the faith you were born into, doesn't matter. But General Hasnain, let's flip the question around. This time we've seen iftars targeted. We've seen sort of Muslims targeted. As a Muslim officer, have you ever had to face a sort of grief from the far right in the Muslim community? And I ask this because while we saw no deletion of tweets, when pictures were shared of General Pandey offering the namaz, as I said, some trolls, I went into the sort of, the you don't see it in this picture, but there's that sort of red ribbon, as it were, that is hanging down. This is a multi-faith a worship hall. And they said this Om has been placed inside a mosque. This was, of course, not a mosque. This was a place of worship where all faiths worship. So people don't even know this concept of multi-faith worships taking place at the same time. General Hasnain.
See, Barkha, you've raised a host of questions, if I may say. But the interesting part is, for one example, I don't know whether, Barkha, you have visited a rare institution which many people outside the army are not aware of, first of all, and very few people in the army itself are aware of. The Institute of National Integration. I wonder if you have been there in Pune. It's worth going and visiting it. That's the place where, the secular, the multipolar kind of tradition of the army is actually demonstrated, taught to people. All the religious teachers of the army go there to do a course. They are instructed. They are shown the ways of ensuring how to protect these secular values, etc. It's something which is very, very rare. It was set up a couple of years ago. It somehow no one gives it a second look because everyone thinks this is such a natural thing to happen in the army. But as to your question, whether I personally have been targeted ever, let me say I get targeted every day by the trolls, and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy being targeted by them because half of them have no sense, no knowledge, no intellect, so you can take
Yeah.
them on completely, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in service in 40 years, and why 40 years? I take it back to 28 years more, which I was as a civilian in the service of the nation in the army as a child. I would say I would never have. I can't even think once that ever a thing like this could have ever happened to me. The army of the old was completely different. Today, someone may still say something from outside, write something against you, etc. But in the good old days, there was no question of doing anything of that kind. As to the tradition of the Aarti, this is, I think, something which everyone will bear us out, whatever be the religion of your troops. For example, I know that on Gurpura, as Joseph 15 Corps, my staff would ask me, what would you like to do? I said, well, give me lots and lots of sweets. I will visit six units of the Sikh community, pure units, and I will go and do a matha teko at the Gurdwara, and I will go and have langar with the unit which is deployed in the most difficult area. You see, this has come so naturally to you. You don't think about it. That, oh no, these are not my troops. I'm a Muslim. These are Sikhs. We don't have to do this kind of a thing. No, that never ever occurs to you. What I want to also point out at the end is people sitting across the line of control
Yeah.
are watching.
Yeah.
are watching, they are hugely jealous, let me tell you, of the values of this army, the manner in which we have so carefully nurtured the values of this army over the last 75 years. Today, they're getting encouraged. They're tending to smile and have a look at us and say, "See, we told you." I have met many of these people in in track two kind of
Yeah.
conferences, etc., where on the sidelines you have these kind of discussions and they snigger. This doesn't make me comfortable at all, and I
Yeah.
want to make sure that whatever I can do to demonstrate in the secular traditions of our armed forces, these are demonstrated in letter and spirit anywhere that I can do.
General Dua, let me bring you in and then give General Huda the last word. You said it's become a way of life. You were trolled as well when you shared those pictures of your Mandir Masjid Gurdwara. People told you, what about the other side? And you said, what is the other side in this? There is no other side. What is the other side? The military is founded on an ethos that not just tolerates. One of the things I always say is the civilians tolerate each other's faiths. The military actually celebrate each other's faiths, participate in them, lead prayers of each other's faiths. There's a huge difference. You don't just tolerate each other's faiths, and the MMG in your home, I think, bears that out. So, how do you think is the best way forward to insulate the army from all this sort of nonsense and noise that seems to today be snapping at its heels?
Look, when someone wrote, a few of them wrote about the other side, they're trying to say, but we are doing this, but the other side doesn't do it. The other side, they're talking about as if the Muslims don't do it. So I actually took General Hasnain's name, General Harris' name, and the name of one of my unit officers, Lieutenant Colonel Bashir Ahmad. I said, they also do it. I mean, and there are many, many more. How can you call another citizen of your own country as the other side? And that's what I was trying to ridicule. I mean, how can you call anyone the other side? As to your question about what can be done, I think Indian Army, firstly, we must have more confidence in ourselves. Indian Army, it has been over 350 years of trials and tribulations, and we've evolved, uh, purified in blood and born in battle and purified in blood kind of an ethos that Indian Army has. It is not only about our warfighting techniques, our training, our ethos, also the way we follow religions, and we just discussed that at length. As to we cannot really stop anyone from trolling or coming out with some stupid ideas. Social media is a potent tool in everyone's hand, and so everyone can perhaps still say and do things that they want to. I think as a nation, we must either we learn to ignore that, or
Yeah.
we try and educate everybody. But we don't have to dignify every comment with a reaction. Just like General Huda
I
started
mean,
off by saying, it was
frankly,
wrong.
sir.
It was
Yeah, I
wrong
was
not
just
to
I was just going to
limit
say
it.
if the tweet hadn't been deleted,
Absolutely.
nobody would have paid
Yeah,
attention to what was being said.
absolutely.
It was
So
it was the
we need to
army
be more
deleting
confident.
that tweet that made it a story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point, that everything doesn't have to be dignified with a counter and explanation. General Huda, are you heartened or relieved by the fact that very quickly after the deletion of this tweet, we have actually seen any number of sort of senior officers like yourselves come out and shut this controversy down? We have seen those images, as I mentioned, of General Pandey. Or do you continue to be concerned that the kind of polarized conversations, coarsened public discourse that we see on social media will not leave the army? After all, it's very difficult to control. Which of your men have access to social media or not. The military has ever changing rules, for example, on soldiers and the use of social media. How do the soldiers can't be kept in some rarefied bubble and said, bhai, ye jo bahar hai, ye andar nahi aayega.
So, Barkha, I'll make 2 points. One, of course, as you said, it was very heartening to see a lot of reaction from both veterans and serving officers to reinforce that. Listen, you might say anything, but we practice secularism, we value secularism, and therefore those photographs of General Pandey, etc. I thought was what outstandingly done, by the army without
Yeah.
making too much of a sort of noise about it. But I think those pictures carried a very, very strong message. So I'm heartened by what has happened. What is happening today on social media, will it lead to polarization? Barkha, it certainly will. It is already increasing divisiveness, it's enhancing polarization in society. And I think we cannot shut our eyes to it. Nor can we say that, oh, we will leave the army should completely shut itself from social media. That is also not going to happen. And therefore, for me, Barkha, the only answer, and as I think Satish and Jal Hasnain have also brought out, we have to double down on our values. We have to reinforce our value system. We should not let anyone question or dilute it. I know there is sometimes talk about, there's too much of sort of British influence over the army. Our traditions, our value systems have been built up over hundreds of years, and I think that's the only thing we should do. Not at all permit any dilution in these values.
Absolutely. And I think long live the spirit of the Forge and the pluralism and the best values of this nation that it represents is something I feel very, very strongly about. And I have no hesitation in underlining it and doubling down on that message for anybody who needs to hear it and learn from it. Thank you very much, General Huda, General Hasnain, and General Dua. Thank you for being leading lights at a critical point in the country's public conversations and debate. Take care. God bless. See you. Thank you.
Thank you, Barkha.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.